Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the April meeting of the Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Commission to order. And as our custom is, we have a prayer and pledge, and I'd like to call on Dr. Gloria Bonner to lead us, please.
Thank you so much. May we bow. Dear Lord, may nothing separate us from your love, your word, and your ways. Teach us how to choose a faith-filled walk so each step will lead us closer to you. Help us to walk by your commands and not our conveniences. Bless this meeting to your service. In your Son's name, amen. Could we stand for the pledge? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. Bonner.
Come.
So before we look at our minutes, we've got an introduction to make, and I'll call on our director, Nate Williams, to make this new introduction.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to introduce Mr. Trey Duke. He is serving now on the Parks and Recreation Commission. He's the new director of Murfreesboro City Schools. Brings a lot of experience. We're glad to have him with our school system, and more than that, happy to have him on the Parks and Recreation Commission now. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Trey. We appreciate you serving with us.
You.
And as I told you a few minutes ago, it's a lot of fun, and we do a lot of good things.
We're looking forward to it. Glad to be on the team.
Well, welcome. Okay. So at this time, you have the minutes from our last meeting in front of you. If you'll take a second and review those, and then I'll entertain a motion to accept those.
Move for approval.
Second.
I hear those motions. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none. Thank you. So get started here with our new business, and we've got a few more introductions. And Janelle Floyd, are you here to make an introduction for us? Great.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
First of all, I just want to take this time to say a special thank you to Rachel Singer, our assistant director, our director, Nate Williams. This special thank you is for their support during a very challenging year in 2020. We've all experienced challenges in our department, and at Patterson Park Community Center, we specifically had a challenge with staffing in our facility maintenance operations. Over the past year, we made several attempts to fill a vacancy with our facility maintenance foreman. But as of this year, we tried it again, and as of this year, in March, we were successful in filling that vacancy. Patterson Park Community Center is the largest recreation facility in our department. So, of course, we would need someone with a very special skill set to lead our facility maintenance operations. We were very fortunate to have a candidate, and he's here, and he accepted the position, and I have the privilege to introduce you to him today, Mr. Frederick Cosby. Mr. Frederick Cosby has over 20 years of professional experience in the facility maintenance industry. So, Mr. Cosby, would you like to come up? So I'd like to introduce to you our new facility maintenance foreman at Patterson Park Community Center, Mr. Frederick Cosby.
How y'all doing? I just want to say that I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to be a part of Park and Recreation, and I'm looking forward to trying to make great things happen there at Patterson Park Community Center. I just want to thank y'all again.
Thank you.
That's awesome, Mr. Cosby. Thank you, and welcome aboard. Okay, Rachel Singer has another introduction.
Hi. I just wanted to introduce to you a familiar face, but we recently promoted Miss Susan Hicks to our Cultural Arts Supervisor. Over the years, our cultural arts department has grown exponentially, both Perform Murfreesboro and Visualize Murfreesboro. And there was a great need there to provide some organization to that large department. And so Susan has accepted that job, and I'm very excited for what she is going to make this. She's a hard worker. She's been with us for 4 years already. She started out actually volunteering at Perform Murfreesboro as her kids went through the theater program, and she loved it so much she went back to school to get her degree and then started working with us part-time as she was earning her degree, and then into a full-time position for the facility coordinator, where she oversaw the Washington Theater and the Perform Murfreesboro program, and that is our children's theater, as you all know, and she has grown that program 300%, I know, from participants to quality plays and classes that she's run. So I've been really, really impressed, and I know the community has too. All sold out shows pre-COVID. She's also experienced some challenges with COVID, but she's seen that through, and I know that she's going to do great things. So I just wanted to make that announcement. Miss Susan Hicks.
I just want to say thank you for giving me this opportunity. I am honored to accept this position, and I look forward to continuing working with the city and growing the cultural arts program.
That's great. Well, thank you, Rachel, and congratulations, Susan, to you and to us. So that's a cool thing. Okay, Commission, the next item on the agenda, number 3, we're going to scratch through that and move that maybe till next month. So next up will be Brittany Garrett, and Brittany got some information on pickleball tournament fees.
Yes, pickleball's become a very, very popular sport around this area, and with the newly renovated courts at Patterson Park, there's 6 outdoor courts, has become very popular. So this is a great opportunity to start offering pickleball tournaments. It will be broken down by skill level and age, so everyone's welcome to participate. The first event would be 3 days in June. If you, for one event to participate in, it would be $40, and then any additional event after that would be $10 extra. Why we don't do all-inclusive is because everyone signs up for every event and they show up for one event. So hopefully, if they pay, they'll show up. The events will be, Friday will be singles, men's and women's. Saturdays will be men's and women's doubles, and then Sunday would be mixed doubles. The fee includes a tournament t-shirt and then prizes for first and second and third place. Any questions?
Any questions for Brittany? Okay, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the proposed fees for the pickleball tournaments.
I move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none. Thank you, Brittany. Well done. Next item on the agenda, Thomas is going to talk to us about some more fees for the Siegel Turf.
Good afternoon, members of Commission. As most all of you are aware, the city's made a huge commitment to making significant improvements at the Richard Siegel Soccer Complex. That commitment includes the conversion of 8 natural grass fields to 8 synthetic turf fields, and then also an enclosed indoor structure on one of those fields. So the project is underway. We have 2 fields completed, and we came a month last commission to get rental fees, just basic rental fees to utilize those 2 fields. Right now we have 2 fields completed. They're working on 2 more fields. We anticipate the completion of those 2 fields by May 15th. And then we hope to have the entire project completed by the end of summer or sometime in the fall. Our game plan was to offer options as field space became available. While our field space was limited, we only had 2 fields to rent. We went with market value pricing and just did hourly or daily rentals. With 2 more fields coming online, we've seen a greater need to increase the opportunities and options for our teams and users. So we want to add a practice fee and then also a game fee. And that would be a little bit reduction in price for our local teams and our local organizations to utilize the fields. Our long-term plan for this is 8 fields come online. We hope to have a variety of options for local teams as our affiliate teams, from the very basic option, which will get them a practice during the week, to looking at more all-inclusive packages where teams could possibly get 2 to 3 practices a week, guaranteed on the turf fields, get priority based on the skill levels that are utilizing those fields. But right now, we want to keep it simple and maximize the fields that we currently have, and being able to be fair and remain fair. We need to just simply implement a practice and a field rental, or a game field rental fee. So what you have in front of you is just an addition to the fees we have. We'll maintain our hourly rental and our daily rentals as we have bigger tournaments and out-of-town guests wanting to use our facility. We'll resort to that. But with this game rentals and the practice rentals, we'll be able to utilize that with our local teams and our local leagues so that they can see a break in price and maximize the fields that are available now.
Questions for Thomas? Go ahead.
Sorry, I have a question. Do you have any projections as to how much revenue this is going to generate?
Well, I hate to use flat numbers because we use hypothetical situations.
Right, I understand.
But we've built a business plan around the facility, covering the cost of the facility within the first 2 years to get to that point, and then try to get to where we're covering some of that capital of reimbursement. So the 20-year plan would be at the end of the 20 years, the facilities generate enough money to be self-sustaining, but also contribute to the capital that was invested by the city in the beginning. It's very similar business model as our Adams Tennis Complex. So I would be afraid to give you actual dollar amounts, but our goals there and the way we're setting those up and structuring fees and our program is primarily for the facility to pay for itself so that all of our expenses are covered. And then I think as the facility becomes more popular and we get more exposure, we're going to be able to expand that so that we can work towards paying back that capital investment.
Well, if we could, in 6 months, could we see what the numbers look like at that point?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
We've run some preliminary numbers as far as what we think it's going to look like, and we're experiencing more of an increase in the usage of just the 2 fields that have come online. So we can bring that as an update next month and show you what our projections show specifically in real dollars, but we can renew and update those numbers based on what we're seeing compared to projections. We're in constant communication with our partners with the Tennessee State Soccer Association. It seems like every day they're sending messages of different tournaments that are wanting to relocate. Right now we have a capacity issue, but we're looking forward to the completion of those other fields to come online. So we're taking next week to council an extended contract to convert the remaining 4 fields along with the completion of the indoor facility and then the lighting of the Jordan Farm field. So those all projects are prepared, have been reviewed by legal, have been funded in our CIP, and then we will be taking those to council for consideration next week.
Would that also include one of those economic impact numbers?
We can run an economic impact study. Usually we work with the chamber to do that, and we have an economic calculator, and we'll have to base it on what we currently have scheduled. Just to give you guys a little bit on economic impact for soccer is significant, thus the city council's decision and make this kind of investment. If you compare it to individual sports, say tennis, if you think the largest tennis tournament we've held in Murfreesboro is a little over 500 participants. That's the USTA state tournament. So when you think in terms of a soccer tournament, the largest soccer tournament we've had in Murfreesboro was a little over 200 teams, and each team is a minimum of 12 to 15 players. So when you run those numbers, the number of heads and beds is significant. Soccer is typically a 2 or 3 day event when soccer tournaments come into town. Rarely are they just a 1 day tournament like a lot of baseball, softball tournaments. So the economic impact is much more substantial for soccer because there's more people involved per team. In addition, they typically stay in some of our nicer hotels, and that's why we get a lot of pressure from the CVB, is because those hotels are booked, and when fields or games are rained out or tournaments are canceled, it's a significant impact to the hotel industry as well. So that's one of the decisions to put in turf fields, so we're eliminating that risk. So I think we certainly can bring that, and I'll get with the ladies over at the CVB and make sure we're using the most up-to-date calculator to generate the revenue. But I think
the public would love those numbers. It shows what a bang for the buck they're getting from it.
Absolutely.
And it just needs to be thrown out there. Let's get something in the DNJ.
Right.
All right.
Our economic model shows direct revenue for the facility and just rentals and other income, but it also shows direct sales tax anticipation and then economic development. So we'll plug that in and bring that to.
Right. And last time we run these analysis was about 2010, when Siegel Park was really hosting a lot of major events, and before we had a lot of the issues with the turf. And those projections were in the direct revenue, or the revenue coming in through economic impact. The sports and athletic fields were responsible for a little over $38 million of economic impact for that year. I feel pretty confident that over the last 11 years, that's risen significantly. We host well over 100 tournaments every year if you put everything together: baseball, softball, soccer, tennis, all of those. So we can certainly, we'll bring you a report for specific to Siegel Park, but I think it'll be interesting for this commission to also see the overall impact that our athletic fields and the economic impact that we contribute. An old rule of thumb is, and like I said, things have changed, it said for every $1 million of economic impact comes in, can be translated to about $25,000 of direct revenue, sales tax revenue to the city. So if those numbers are still consistent, the economic impact should pay for the facility. But our goal is to take the direct revenue from field rentals and tournament fees and use that to reimburse the city for this investment.
I have a quick question too. Mr. Laird, and I probably should know the answer to this, but I don't, so I apologize. But what impact does this have on the recreation teams, the local soccer clubs, as far as practice, field accessibility, that type of thing?
Well, we've made a shift. As you know, the city built 6 fields on the Jordan Farm, which is just down from Siegel Park off of Cherry Lane. Nate's actually taking a contract to City Council next week to get those fields fully lit. And I think once we're able to get those fields lighted, that impact would be minimal. We're having to be creative with our scheduling. We want to bring in the new business that's associated with this new fields, but we certainly don't want our rec league to suffer. So currently the rec league is playing at Siegel Park on weekends, and we're doing creative scheduling to ensure that they get their time. But at the completion of this project, our goal is to have the Jordan Farm location and those 6 fields fully functional, lights. I know there's a grant that's in the works so that we can build a concession and restroom facility there, and then we've talked about adding additional parking, and so we're putting measures in place to make that a complete and all in itself recreation soccer facility.
So conceptually, we're really not taking any space from them. We're just creating the revenue opportunity for the city.
Right. We're improving the existing space we have so that they have the same amenities, and actually those fields were built a little different, so they drain really well. The wet issues that we experience at Siegel Park is not a factor with them, so they're getting a better quality field in terms of natural grass at the Jordan Farm. It's just the amenities such as lights and restrooms and things that are on the way, that those are in the works.
Thank you.
Yeah, and as a reminder on that too, you guys will probably remember, it's probably prior to your being on the council, but we ran through a period of time a few years ago where, because of the overuse, the rec leagues were impacted substantially. Everybody was. We were going and playing behind churches, and we were scrounging for everything, every piece of grass we could get, as you guys probably remember, because of not having this other accessibility at the Jordan Farm, and you know what the other thing too that's always key to remember in this turf discussion, the artificial turf discussion, is, you know, it's twice as much capacity, really. I mean, you know, because you don't have to rest them like you do the grass fields and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, appreciate.
All right, we've seen a significant increase. When it rains, the turf fields, the two we have, are booked. I think Brittany gets calls at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning.
Watching the radar,
right?
Hey, are we gonna
or
spend
even the
money
night
or not?
before.
Yes.
And our goal, you know, that's what we want. But what we hope to bring back to you either this summer or in the fall as the project progresses is a comprehensive plan, an affiliate team program where we can maximize the use of those fields when it's nice and sunny out as well. So we're trying to put in a type of affiliate program where teams are practicing on turf regardless of what the weather is to ensure the usability of it. Something very similar to what we had to do in tennis because everybody wants to play outside when it's nice. They're not wanting to go indoors. So we put measures in place to encourage that indoor play and to encourage that. So we're doing the same thing with soccer and the synthetic turf.
What we see is right now we have a unique time where we have an increased and enhanced demand for the facility, but an extremely limited capacity because of the construction that's taking place. So our partner leagues, the partner agencies that we work with are being very flexible, and our staff is working hard to, you know, schedule creatively. So our rec league is having to adjust and tweak. It's not the way it's ever been before because of the limited capacity. But I think once we get the whole, you know, complex complete, we'll be in much better shape, and you know, we've gone through this period of testing how we can schedule effectively, and it's working very well right now.
I just wanted to make sure we weren't taking that capacity away from the rec league or saying you're going to have to pay to have practice at these fields.
The rec league and the proposal that we'll bring back at the completion of construction, the rec league will still continue to go on a player fee that we have now and not be charged. Thank you.
We're trying to develop some consistency across the board. Our rec baseball leagues, they utilize the fields, they pay the simple player fee, but every travel team in the city, they're responsible for finding their own practice fields, they're responsible for finding their own places to play games, and they rent fields from us to do that. And so we want to get that similar consistency here with the soccer as well, where we're taking care of rec, but if you want to have a different experience than that, or you want to have a more of a competitive experience, then there are fees associated with that. I know the organizations we work with, they have financial aid policies and practices so that you know, we're keeping in the true spirit of social equity. But you know, if you're playing on a select team, Rick can contest, it's much more intense than coming out for one practice a week.
He didn't make the select team.
Oh, he's a former Metro. Don't let him lie to you.
We picked Ronnie last. He still holds a grudge, man.
Well, in regard to the fees, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none. Thank you, Thomas.
Yes, sir.
Good
I
information.
would like to ask a question in addition to the economic impact. We are aware of the huge popularity of soccer today. So in addition to the economic impact, we also care about the educational, recreational, as well as social development and investment in our children locally. How many teams do we have here with our local children in terms of numbers? Could you give me an estimate?
Roughly, we average about 1,200 recreational players per season, and then we're looking at close to 500 to 600 select or competitive players per season, and that fluctuates, but it's very similar numbers in baseball and softball as well. Baseball sees about 2,500 to 3,000 players. That includes baseball and softball. So when you combine them, in the Murfreesboro Athletics, our number one goal is, you know, we run sports, we do basketball, football, And the number one goal is not to get kids ready for college scholarships. It's not to create the next professional athlete. Our goal is to create good citizens, and that comes through recreational sport. So we take a lot of pride in the fact that we put emphasis on the recreational sport and the benefits of that, the health and wellness, as well as the social benefits of sport, and not to mention the real life scenarios that they experience on the field that they're able to take in their everyday life. So please feel confident that we're not going to lose the true spirit of sport and youth sports in itself because we're fueling these competitive atmospheres. The rec will always hold near and dear to our heart. We're always going to make sure that our citizens are taken care of first.
Thank you, because that's always been our signature here in this community.
Yeah, Dr. Bonner, I want to make a comment about that too, just
Yes.
because it's a great point and something that actually Nate and I have talked about recently here is, you know, and look, I'm guilty as charged as it relates to taking a look at the numbers and looking at the dollars and cents. I mean, I think it's my obligation to do so as, you know, in my role as a council person. But, you know, we are going to have some philosophical questions to ask when this proposal comes in front of us, you know, the big proposal where we really have to take a look at, well, you know, how important is it to get every dollar back? You know, and then if not every dollar, then how many, right? I mean, is it just a few or is it somewhere in between? And that kind of leaves a big gray area. So it's a great question. And those other reasons that you're kind of talking about are those reasons why we may not have to have a situation that we get every single dollar back, right? But the other comment I want to make is to answer your question, in 1988, when Ronnie made the team, there was 18 players that played soccer. The number was much smaller, being my point. It was not very many of us. It was, you know, it took a whole high school to build one select team, basically, right? So anyway, it's grown a lot, and I appreciate all y'all's hard work. I know it's been a lot. And,
I'd like to say just really quick before we pass this subject, scheduling this facility has been, you know, an interesting proposition, especially with limited capacity. So Thomas and his team, Cody Saffel and Brittany Garrett, have done just a tremendous job kind of navigating through this with the increased demand and extremely low capacity. So I just want to recognize their hard work in this process as well, and trying to serve, you know, our patrons the best we can with the best customer service, while not always being able to say yes is not easy, but they've done a tremendous job.
That's true. That's always been a part of our legacy as Ricky Turner and I ran the fields growing up. So we appreciate you continuing that legacy.
Well, we get a whole lot more citizens out of our youth sports programs than we get professional athletes. We appreciate and admire our professional athletes, but you can count on maybe two hands how many have come out of these programs. But look at how many fathers, mothers, good Christian, good citizens that have come out of these programs, and we see the true benefit of recreational sports.
Very good. Well said, Thomas.
Thank you.
Great things going on at the Siegel soccer fields for sure. Next item on the agenda, a few more fees. Rachel?
I think it's the fee day today.
Fee day.
I'm here to ask your approval for the implementation of a fee schedule for a few of our green spaces. Two in particular that we're looking at that's going to have the same fee structure is obviously in our two different existing parks. But especially post-COVID, but I think even leading up to before COVID, the popularity of being outside and in our parks has grown as our community grows. And so we've got some great spaces to be able to offer for music festivals, corporate picnics, special events. And these two in particular, one is at Oaklands Park and the other is at McKnight Park. And they vary a little bit in acreage, but a lot of the amenities are the same as far as space and you know, what people can use them for. Obviously parking is a big thing and restrooms, and so these are comparable with that. We have never had a fee structure associated with these two green spaces, and so that's what I'm here for, is to seek your approval with that. We do have Cannonsburg, their green space already had this in place, and we would really just ask to mirror that, which also has similar amenities. So a half day would be $125. A full day is $200, and then the parking lot with the green space rental would be an additional $100. They would be allowed to also rent pavilion space and kind of add on some amenities, so this is just for these green space areas.
Questions for Rachel?
I had one, and sorry, I'm not as familiar with this either. But for example, Cannonsburg, if there is a rental there, does that mean it's shut down from public use? How does that help?
It depends. So we've got Cannonsburg Village that does rent out their grounds, and so when they have a full rental, sometimes the grounds are closed for those events. This green space rental associated with Cannonsburg is actually on the Greenway side, if you're familiar, that kind of where Uncle Dave Macon Day's the large stage sits.
Okay. And then the proposal for this at McKnight, well, I guess specifically at Oakland's, you're talking about the same turf where they play baseball, the old timers play baseball?
Yes, exactly, right.
I don't mean old timers like Rick, I mean the actual old timers.
I see.
Yeah.
But what about the playground area there? Is that part of it as well? Is it what we're talking about too?
That would not be part of the rental part, and the pavilion is not part of the rental part either.
Okay.
That would be an additional.
Just thinking about shutting off that access to that utility for a couple $100 for the city. But
Right.
You've
No.
answered my question. Thank you.
That would still be open.
Great question. Any others? Do I hear a motion that we approve the green space fees at Oakland and McKnight Parks?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none.
Thank you.
Neat stuff, Rachel. Okay, next item on the agenda is Melinda. Melinda Tate is here. I bet she's going to have a lot to say also.
Good afternoon. And I'm not asking for any fee changes, but I do want to wish you all a happy National Walking Day. It's sponsored by the American Heart Association, and you probably all know we have got a ton of facilities and venues where you can take your 30-minute walk. Everybody thinks of the Greenway, obviously, but we've got Oakland's Park, Siegel Neighborhood Park, just about anywhere is a good opportunity to take a walk today. We have got a lot of activities planned for the month of April. The first one on the list is the Willie Mcgowan Fish Fry and Bake Sale. This year, it will again be a drive-through, so we're asking that you do call Bradley Academy to get your pre-sale tickets, and you will not be disappointed. It's delicious. This is something new, a murder mystery escape room on the Civic Plaza. And it will be groups of up to 4 from noon until 5 p.m. and you try to solve the mystery. And it's free. Just call 615-642-3170 or email hbelcher@murfreesborotn.gov to get signed up. And again, it is free. That should be pretty interesting. And we all know that the recent weather and the flooding has caused a lot of trash to accumulate along the Greenway. And we do have several cleanups scheduled in the month of April. But you know what? Since it is National Walking Day, I recommend that on your walk, take a plastic bag with you. Pick up a few pieces of trash if you see it. Make it a habit to do that. And I'll stop preaching now, but we do have our Guardians of the Greenway every Thursday in April from 9 to 10 a.m. at different trailheads. And we do have a group of people that have been coming every week, and it's actually a lot of fun. You get to see instant results. We're doing something good for Murfreesboro. So go ahead and put that on your calendar. Speaking of hikes and walking, we've got several planned through the Wilderness Station. We've got Machine Falls, April 10th. The Spring Spectacular hike and picnics planned are at Barfield Crescent Park. Pack a picnic lunch. It's about 2.25 miles. A lot of fun. We've got track and field, youth volleyball league, and summer basketball league signups through the month of April. They are at Sportscom, McFadden, the main office, and you can also sign up online. Allison wanted me to remind you that even though things are opening up now, she is still offering some of her fitness classes online through the Sportscom Facebook page. And if you haven't had an opportunity to check it out, do that. Sometimes I'll just watch the Tai Chi just to de-stress. I may or may not do the movements, but just watching it de-stresses me. We've got our Barfield Beach Party. That's a popular event, May 7th at Barfield Crescent Park. Our summer camp registration is still going on. And if you want to register online, make sure you've got your account number. And if you don't, you can call the main office at 615-890-5333 to get your account number. Or you can come in person at Sportscom, Patterson Park, and Barfield Crescent Park to sign up. About a third of our camps are filled already, but we still have a lot of fun ones available. Everybody's been asking, when is Borough Beach opening? It's one of our popular summer venues, and good news, it opens Saturday, May 29th at 10 a.m., and then that Monday, we're having our annual Memorial Day Bash. We'll have more information about that. And speaking of more information, if you want to go to our website, we have really updated our calendar. So our Rec Connection is still on there. You can take a look at that. But if you go to the calendar, you can click on a date to see what's happening that day. If you click view all events, you can filter the list by, this is what's happening this week in Parks and Rec and at the Senior Center. So you can tell at a glance what's going on. You can put in the search bar hikes, and all the hikes will come up. So it's really been a good tool, and I hope you all are able to use it in the near future to see what's available. This is what happens if you click on one of the events. All the information comes up. And of course, we've got our Facebook pages. If you are interested in one particular genre, for example, cultural arts, you can become a fan of that and learn about all the events going on there. And I think that's about it for the month of April. Again, I only put a fraction of what we're doing on the slideshow, but I invite you to check out our calendar to see everything else that's going on.
Will you remind me of one thing real quick? The
Yes.
Guardians of the Greenway?
Yes.
What times do those
I
start?
believe it was 9 to 10.
It's 9 to 10? And is that just, that's the time when you're going to be walking down the Greenway picking stuff up, or is it, do you know?
That's where we will meet the group, and we'll have the trash grabbers and the bags and the all the supplies, and we just meet as a group. But you are welcome to, let's say you have a student that needs volunteer hours.
I was actually
Yes.
going to ask if we, I'm sure you guys have thought about it and figured out why it's not smart, but I was thinking, what about a 3:30 or 4 o'clock?
Yeah, what we do, if you have a group or even an individual that wants to do a cleanup, just call the office and we can set it up for you and sign any papers saying, yes, they did clean up from 3 to 5. And we can also point you in the direction of a good trailhead that maybe needs a little more attention. or one that works better for you. Maybe it's closer to your house.
I see. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, we will never turn away a volunteer for a greenway cleanup.
And what happens on the schedule? Those you had a different place every week, so I'd
Yes.
imagine the individuals that would be interested would go to that spot, and that's where the group convenes.
Right, that's just for our organized group cleanup. But we sometimes work with businesses. They do employee volunteer day. They'll have maybe 100 employees show up, and we'll put them at different trailheads. So we can work with your group depending on what hours, how many there are. Do they want to get in the canoes at the wetlands with boots on? I mean, we can definitely tailor our cleanups to your group.
Hey, Melinda,
Yes.
I saw where you posted that the Borough Beach was opening back up. Two questions on that. Will there be capacity? Is there a limited number of people? And also, will there be, I guess, temperature check and sort of pre-COVID safety measurements intact due to, I guess it was still in, still COVID-19 floating
Sure.
around, so.
Yeah, we will always, throughout Parks and Rec, follow the protocols. I'm not sure about the capacity.
We'll answer to any state or local health requirements that are at the time. But right now, the anticipation is we might start off with a limited capacity on our own, but we'll defer that to any state or local health officials.
Well, if they'll
Follow
be
that guidance.
checking temperature as well before you come in, because I would
We won't
hate
be checking
I would hate for it to get started and then you had to keep shutting it down due to people. If you say, well, somebody who was at the park, who was at the pool got test positive, so shut it down for a while, then you open it back up. So, but my son was in Murfreesboro. Growing up as a youth, that I always looked forward to summertime because at that time Oakland and Patterson was open, so that's how I learned how to swim.
Yeah.
So I'm glad it's back open. So
the latest research, Mr. Turner, shows that the outdoor activities are not as high risk. So we're looking again to the state and local health officials to give that guidance. Right now, we're not anticipating any capacity requirements.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay. Things are busy, Melinda. Thank you so much. And this time I'd like to thank all our staff. As you can see, we've got so many activities and events that are scheduled throughout the summer, and it's just the list, as Melinda mentioned, there's lots that she couldn't even mention today. So hats off to our staff. Is there any other business to become in front of the commission this month?
I wanted to ask the director, Nate Williams, a concern that I've been noticing about the new park over in the Blackman area. It seems like the city has decided to take some of that land that we was going to use for the park. So maybe I just want you to kind of update us on that situation and how that will impact, or what things will be eliminated since you're not using. Now, what was the original acreage that we had for the park over there?
Originally, it was about 123 acres. And what we've decided to do is look at using the Franklin Road property for the larger parks. That's the one we're proceeding with right now.
Okay.
And it's still a community park at the other location.
But so how many acres is the park getting now?
We don't have a definitive number just yet.
Okay. So I'm taking now that some of the things that we had proposed, like so many baseball fields or whatever fields we had, since I guess the city is taking some of that, so some of that will be probably cut down as far as, you see what I'm saying?
That would be put at the Franklin Road property.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just offer this because it is coming up a lot. We're getting tons of emails about it, and we've got this is going to come up tonight in the planning commission. So I mean, there's as far as the rezoning goes of the Blackman of the 840 property. Right. But just here's how I would categorize where we are with that right now. If you're getting questions about this, and this I think I don't think it's oversimplified, frankly. Several years ago, we bought two pieces of property. The city did. We bought the 840 property. We bought the Highway 96 property that's there close at the intersection of Veterans Parkway. You know, with the idea that we're going to try to study those properties, figure out what the best in use is, and that we're going to have a park on the west side of town amongst one or both, some combination of those two pieces of property. We did put together some ideas about what could go out there at 840. Long story short, the numbers came back about $15 or $20 million more than what was anticipated when we decided to buy the property, to build it out, you know, with all those amenities and things that we saw on those diagrams and things that we looked at and tried to build and get feedback on. So I think, you know, between that coming back, it all sort of set us all back a little bit. It's right at a time when we're having tax increases and trying to figure out, okay, well, how's this budget going to really shake out? Then Corona hits for another year. You know, now I think we're back to a part where, or to a point where we're able to kind of, okay, we're looking back at these two pieces of property, which is most likely to be able to get a real, not, you know, a real park, not just a pocket park, but a full-size type park. And it's, what I think we're learning is there's probably a better use for 840. We hadn't made the decision yet. That's a decision that the council will have to make, but it looks like there might be a better use for that piece, for the majority of that piece. You know, what we hear in the emails is going from 120 acres to 15 acres, and that just sounds awful.
Yeah.
Until you remind them we got 100 acres over there at Highway 96 that we're talking about and dealing with too, as it relates to parks. Right. Okay, and I don't know that all that'll be park either, but we're going to still, at the very, like we have said from the very beginning, we're taking a look at both of these pieces of property, and we're trying to get the best doggone bunch of park stuff that we can for the best price that we can, right? And the best value.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add too is that 840 property from a highest and best use standpoint probably has a lot more commercial value than park value. And so what you're talking about is the potential to offset the cost of the total park by saying, hey, you know, the Blackman site I think was 125 acres, the 96 site's 150 acres or so. So you have comparable properties where you could potentially, instead of it going from a $25 million project to a $45 million project, there are probably millions of dollars that could be made on the sale of that 840 property to get it back into the range where it is a more affordable park. You might even have the opportunity to do that 15 acres or a smaller sort of pocket park in addition to a larger park, which conceptually had been designed from the very beginning. So, you know, I think it's a great opportunity. It's something to talk about. But, yeah, I wouldn't be happy either if I'd heard we were going from 100 acres to 15 acres. I don't think that's the whole story. So
I think what we're looking at is a larger scale park than just 15 acres. We'll have a trail system and some really beneficial community amenities that will serve as a great park at that location that will go in conjunction with whatever business development that happens at that location. What we're starting to re-engage with is what a park at Highway 96, you know, which is only just a couple miles away, can fit that type of destination athletic complex, and what that would look like.
And one other piece too, and help me if I'm off on this too, but I think we just got word that the state was going to improve Highway 96 and widen it, that there'd been some confirmation on that, so it will have better accessibility to that land site than we thought there was going to be at one time. So I think that plays in on some of that as well.
I just didn't want that area to be underserved with a small park, you know, because that's a large, you know, that's probably the fastest growing area in Rutherford County. So you know that you're underserved. If you're gonna put one out there, it has to serve the citizens in that community. So that was my main concern.
Sure. I know we have a desire to have a park and the type of amenities that we've discussed over the past years to still go on the west side of town. And I don't want to speak for our council. But I think the desire is for us to continue and proceed with, you know, building that type of park. I think it's a desire. We just have to figure out, like Councilman Martin said, the highest and best use for each one of those properties. And right now it's landing towards the Highway 96 property. Can be a tremendous location for a destination athletic complex with several other types of amenities that could be really beneficial.
Good question, Ricky. Lots more to come on that, so very exciting. At this time, if there's no further business, we'll stand adjourned.